Well, we made it. The greatest WrestleMania of all time. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another edition of WrestleMania Review Series. And we are here. WrestleMania 17. Um, man, it took us a while, but we finally made it to this WrestleMania, the one that I wanted to talk about for a long time. I've rewatched this show countless times. And to me, it's a show that I just love to go back and rewatch. But there was something for everybody. You can have crazy table spots and hardcoreness with TLC 2. You can have goofy fun with Kane, Raven, and Big Show. You can have technical wrestling with Benoit and Angle. You can have McMahon family drama with the McMahons. You can have a classic with Rock and Austin. So there was something for every single person in this show. So if you were looking for a specific match, go to this show. This show is legendary for a reason. But we kick off the show with Chris Jericho and William Regal in a really good match. These guys have really good chemistry, very underrated chemistry, and I'm very glad that William Regal at the end ended up getting a WrestleMania match. I know that William Regal was more of a character in WWF / WWE. He was more of like a manager, GM type of character, but he was pretty good in the ring. One of the most underrated wrestlers of all time. I never saw him as a world champion, as many other people claim to see him as. I don't see it. But he did his job. The whole story of like Regal being a manager and then like getting in the head of Jericho, and then Jericho just plays mind games, peeing on his tea. We had Jericho as Doink. We had all this other stuff that was leading to this match. We eventually get it. Good match, good back and forth. Like I said, these guys have great chemistry. A little odd that the match ended in a line salt. I would have predicted this would have ended with the Walls of Jericho. It ended up not having to do that. The line salt, good move. I don't really see it as a finish, but it worked for what it was, and I enjoyed the match. So kudos for a good opener. Then we get down to the match that I forgot I even watched. This is probably like the forgettable match. Every great show has a bad match, or at least that match that was not good. This is the one. The Right to Censor versus Taz and the APA. This was very clear that they wanted the Right to Censor to be on the show because they were the top heels around this time, at least in the mid card division. And then they wanted to cap off the storyline once and for good. So why not have him losing? But they really didn't care about these guys. The fact that they lost to Taz and the APA, who are legends in their own right, but they're not like top level stars. But Right to Censor was just a comedy team. Just basically, this is around the time where like the TV deals were going off the wall, so like they needed people to like censor them. So why not have it be a bunch of guys who didn't make it? We had Val Venus, the Good Father, Bull Buchanan. Screw Bull Buchanan, he sucked. He's the one who gets the pinfall by Bradshaw, and I think that's the only reason why APA fought them, just so we can have APA get his moment in Houston. That's really the only thing I could think of. But anyways, moving on. Raven, Kane, and Big Show in a hardcore championship triple threat match. This also meant False Count Anywhere, like before it became False Count Anywhere. But this was a good match, very entertaining. The little cart driving, them breaking walls, basically going off the walls and just have fun. Them basically destroying the Astrodome is very entertaining to watch. I really enjoyed this match. Can't say really anything bad about it. It was entertaining, and I love that they finally gave Kane his flowers. The past couple years he was putting over Undertaker, Triple H. Last WrestleMania, he was in a forgettable tag team match. This time he's in a great match, getting the hardcore championship. He finally gets a big moment for himself. After that phenomenal performance at the Royal Rumble. When everybody thinks of the 2001 Royal Rumble, they think of Kane. and he was only the runner up. That is a testament how great Kane was in this time. And yeah, I was really happy to see Kane get his WrestleMania moment. So very happy for that. Test versus Eddie Guerrero for the European Championship. This was very clearly they just needed something for these guys. They really tried with Test. They wanted Test to be at the top so bad, but he never really amounted to much. And it's very unfortunate, But they really did try, but nothing was clicking with him. So they realized that Eddie Guerrero was the bigger star, so he ended up getting the victory. Yes, he lied, cheat, and steal his way to the top, but that's Eddie Guerrero for you. This is where we turn a good show into a phenomenal show when we have Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit go at it. And the story here was that Kurt Angle was your last WWF champion. He's been waiting for a WrestleMania match. He doesn't even get a match until the last Raw before Mania. And that opponent is Chris Benoit. He puts him in the label lock. He taps out. Kurt Angle claims that he didn't tap out because it wasn't an official match. We get this classic match. It just showcased what chemistry these guys had and basically foreshadows the next upcoming classics that we are gonna get. Unfortunately, we can't remember it for the obvious, but Kurt Angle has said in many interviews that he is upset that he never gets to talk about these matches because these are his best matches with Benoit. It was like wrestling his twin. These guys have phenomenal chemistry, and it showed here. Yeah, it is unfortunate that we can't remember the matches for the obvious. Uh, but but when you actually sit and watch these matches are incredible, and this was just the first of millions of great matches that they had. Um, the ending was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was basically um, the label lock being put on Angle is like, oh my goodness, he's gonna tap out again. He gets the roll up victory, 1, 2, 3. Kurt Angle runs away. And then backstage, I like that they end up putting the label lock on him again, and then that time he does tap out, basically foreshadowing that this won't be the last encounter that we have. Because for a match that got put at the very last minute, it's very fitting that we would want to continue it after WrestleMania, and this was a good way of doing so. So, again, amazing match, and I really recommend you guys to watch it. This was the first great match of WrestleMania 17. Then we get Ivory versus China for the Women's Championship. This was a typical squash match. China just squashes Ivory. 1, 2, 3. China is your Women's Champion. I believe this was her first win, which is odd because up to this point she's been a 2-time IC champion. But it was a good moment. It was nice to see China. Unfortunately, this was the last time we see China at WrestleMania. I believe this was the last year we see China altogether, and unfortunate events lead to what happened. So, all respect to China. Rest in peace. McMahon versus McMahon. Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon versus Shane McMahon. Street fight with special guest referee Mick Foley, and this storyline was insane. Basically, McMahon wants a divorce from Linda. He makes her life a living hell. She goes on Linda McMahon just loses it. She just freezes. She can't even move. He is making out with Trish Stratus, forcing her to bark like a dog. McMahon was a true evil SOB, and it basically foreshadowed what we know today. This guy was insane. And it kind of worked to the advantage of the heel heat that he got on this match. Stephanie McMahon trying to get the approval of Dad, and so they're forming a relationship, but as father and daughter. Shane McMahon is sick of it. He hates where Linda has been, and it just turns into a match where he challenges him. The whole Shane buying WCW was good. I didn't think it was necessary for this story, but it did work out. I do wish that they did more with the whole WCW versus WWF. We all wish we did better with that. But it was kind of funny when Shane McMahon came out and he's like, hey, shout out to my boys from WCW. And then they got horrible seating. And then it's not even the top WCW guys, just some mishmash guys like that no one cared about, Buff Bagwell and stuff like that. Anyways, McMahon comes out. I didn't like that both people came out with the No Chance in Hell theme. This would have been the perfect time to debut the Here Comes the Money theme. I don't think they created that song yet. Or hell, they could have had Shane McMahon come out to the WCW theme, the Nitro theme, something, just to not have both men enter with the same entrance theme song. The match was good. This was just perfect McMahon drama. Oh, did I mention Mick Foley was the referee? It made sense given that he was the commissioner, then he got fired. So this was his comeback. Like, if, he didn't get screwed over. So then it was like, whoa, what's going to happen? Just so much added to this match, and it was brilliantly done. Um, I like the spot where Shane McMahon dives to the Spanish announce table. Even though he misses, he can fly. Shane McMahon can fly. Um, there was a part where like both men are knocked down. You have Linda McMahon in the wheelchair. Trish Stratus following her. Stephanie's trying to check, and then she shoves Trish out the way, and then it becomes a cat fight with those two. It was just a very fun match in between a match. Stephanie and Trish, they could have eventually had a WrestleMania match. They didn't, but we were what you got. But this was a fun entertainment with Trish and Stephanie. Trish finally turning face, finally getting her revenge, slapping Mr. McMahon after making her bark like the dog, stripped down to her bra and panties. She lost it, so this was like a perfect moment for that to happen. And then there was a part where Linda McMahon is like still in the wheelchair. Mick Foley moves her out the way. McMahon gets pissed. He grabs the chair, knocks down Mick Foley. Then it turns into Shane and Vince fighting with a bunch of trash cans and chairs, all that stuff. And then that big markout moment. Man, this crowd was hot. And when Linda McMahon got up, knees, or at least kicks Vince in the nuts, that was a big standout moment. Linda walks away from the ring. Shane McMahon beats up Shane McMahon beats up his father, puts him ready for the Van Terminator. I forgot what he calls it, but I'm calling it the Van Terminator. He hits it with a trash can next to him. Mick Foley recuperates 1, 2, 3, and Shane McMahon is your winner. Great match for two guys that are not really popular for being in-ring competitors. They had one of the best matches on the show. Now, I want you to keep in mind that up to this point, we've reached the halfway point of WrestleMania. There's only 4 matches left, and you think to yourself, after that great moment with the McMahons, where do we go from here? I didn't think anything would have topped it, but then I forgot. TLC 2 happened. The Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys, and Edge and Christian. Now, a lot of people think this is the weakest match because of the interference. And then there's some people, like myself, who think that this made the match better because we've already seen the ladder match. We've already seen the first TLC. We need to do TLC 2 and we need to up the ante. So why don't we have a guy from every corner help out? The Hardy Boys have Lita. The Dudley Boys have Spike. Edge and Christian have Rhino. This was just well put together. They hit a 3D to Lita. Lita gets her moment. There was a part where like Matt and Bubba Ray, they all fall into a bunch of ladders. The infamous Wellab. What else happened? There was another part where Jeff Hardy does the dive from a ladder to a table. But to me, the moment, we all know which moment we're talking about. Jeff Hardy hangs from the top, holding the 2 belts as Rhino moves the ladder. Edge steps up. He does a spear from a ladder onto Jeff Hardy. He falls flat into the ring. Brutal moment. And I was just like, yo, that was crazy. And then Edge and Christian win. I loved it. Over time, I used to hate that Edge and Christian won all of these matches, but it made sense. They are the heels that were very cowardice, that didn't do much of the big spots. They were just kind of there to sneak away with the tag victory. And it made sense for them, so I can't really fault it. I really think that it was the right call to have Edge and Christian win all of these matches, and this was my favorite match out of the three. I used to say it was SummerSlam, but I think this one upped the ante, and then with the interference of other people that worked for what it was. So I think this was my favorite out of all of them. TLC 2. Yeah, a fantastic match. On to the gimmick battle royal. Um, we had, and well, before the match even started, we had Bobby Heenan and Mean Gene Okerlund be on commentary. So that was a great nostalgia moment for me, given the fact that I've watched all the WrestleManias up to this point. But in this match, we had the Bushwhackers, Duke Drozy, Doink the Clown, Nikolai Volkov, Tugboat, The Goon, Earthquake. I marked out for Earthquake. I'm like, oh my god, it's Earthquake. And keep in mind, I didn't like Earthquake up to this point, but when I saw him here, I was so happy to see him. The Gobbledygooker, oh great. Brother Love, I Love You. Michael P.S. Hayes, One Man Gang. Kamala, accompanied with Harvey Whippleman. Kim Glee, Jim Cornette, the Repo Man, and Sergeant Slaughter, a former WrestleMania headliner, is in this gimmick battle royal. This match was just honestly, the entrances were better than the entire match. It was just everybody going out one by one by one by one by one. You get the point. The final three were Sergeant Slaughter, Hillbilly Jim, and the Iron Sheik. The Iron Sheik gets the victory. And then Sergeant Slaughter comes out, puts Iron Sheik in a rest hold. Awesome for the Iron Sheik to get the victory. The Jabroni, oh my god, the Iron Sheik was awesome. And even before, once he retired, like him on Twitter, he was entertaining. Man, we all love the Iron Sheik. So this was an awesome match. Undertaker versus Triple H. Many you call this the forgotten Triple H Undertaker match because they never talk about it. They pretend they know about the streak, but they pretend that this match never happened. Goofy on their part. But I really thought that this match was good. It was a regular one-on-one match, but what they did was there was a part where Triple H was gonna hit Undertaker with the sledgehammer. The referee said no. And then at one point the turnbuckle gets broken, and then the match continues. Triple H bumps into the referee. They do the pinfall. 1-2 kick out because the referee was still knocked out. Undertaker gets pissed. He knocks out the referee more, and basically the referee was out of the match for most of it because in reality they wanted to do a new no DQ match. There was a good part where they had a fight in the crowd, and they eventually make it back to the ring. There's a part where we get the last ride, but then Triple H has the sledgehammer and knocks him out. We thought that was going to be the end of the streak. This is the first time they actually reference the streak in commentary. They don't really fully address it until next year, but this is like the first tease that we have a streak going. And then that's why Undertaker won. So the streak continues at 9-0. This was an amazing match, one of my favorites. The American Badass was never like the best part of the Undertaker. Him as the dead man always worked for everybody, and but this match was pretty good for an American Badass match. He was never really popular for having the best matches during this time, and especially WrestleMania matches. But this one was the best one out of his American Badass Mania matches. I forgot to mention, but Undertaker and Triple H had phenomenal entrances. Triple H comes out to Motorhead, and then the rolling with Undertaker just coming out. It would have been badass if we had Motorhead and Limp Bizkit back to back. That would have been tight. For obvious reason that I have Limp Bizkit. I mean, they did the theme song My Way. But it would have been a badass moment to have Undertaker come out to Limp Bizkit. They do it 2 years later, but it still doesn't take away from how cool Undertaker looked as the American Badass. The main event of the evening. The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then it was announced last minute that it will be no disqualification. Before we even talk about Rock and Austin, let's talk about that video package with My Way, basically showing the match leading up to this point that we're going to have Deborah on here. on the Rock's corner, just to mess with Stone Cold. Stone Cold was willing to do anything to be the champion. You have the two top baby faces of the Attitude Era in this match. Now, this was just balls to the walls crazy. They were beating the crap out of each other. This was around the time where The Rock was overselling the stunner, which was awesome. We were very happy with this match up until the ending, which was Vince McMahon comes out and helps Stone Cold Steve Austin get the victory. I really wish they didn't do this. I really wish that like Vince McMahon did screw over The Rock, but then Stone Cold stuns McMahon. Like, what are you doing? We ain't friends. But given the fact that Stone Cold was willing to do anything to be WWF champion, made sense. Him aligning with McMahon didn't work, and we can all agree with that. He was a solid coward heel, but in the long run, it didn't work. And it shows next year when he's back to a baby face. And then even they try to make him a heel and have him join the alliance. That was stupid. But man, this does not take away from this match. It was just badass, the best out of the trilogy of matches that these two eventually have. Hands down, my favorite match of the night. One of the greatest main events of all time. Stone Cold and The Rock just have it. The rating, you already know, A plus. One of the greatest shows of all time. My favorite WrestleMania of all time. This was just legendary, up to the walls. It's possibly the best way to send off the Monday Night Wars, even though, the controversial Austin heel turn didn't work. But I was very happy with this WrestleMania. It was a great way to just say thank you to everybody who stuck around with the WWF during the Monday Night Wars. So, really happy with this show, and you should definitely go out of your way and watch it. There's something for everybody who is a wrestling fan on this show. And if you are into the TV-14 aspect now, you're really going to love this show. On to WrestleMania 18. I'll see all of you later.